We gonna make it? The ups and downs. I call to order the Tuesday, June 3rd meeting of the Chattanooga City Council. To get us started, Councilman Henderson, would you please lead us in the Pledge to Allegiance and invocation?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ma'am. Reading from Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Would you bow with me in prayer? God, may everything that we do here this evening in this meeting be pleasing in your sight. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, council, we have no special presentations today. Can I get a motion on the minutes, please?
Second.
All right, minutes will stand without objection. All right, council, we're going to move into discussion of our agenda for this week. We have an item on final reading. It's a planning item. We have our budget items on first reading. Councilman Henderson, would you like to speak to that?
I would. Thank you, ma'am. As we discussed in our strategic planning meeting, I would like to offer an amendment this afternoon that basically repurposes $5 million, reappropriates may be the better term, $5 million that places it into a line called earnest money for sworn fire and police compensation. I think that opens the door for addressing the need for fire and police pay, as well as trying to maybe relieve some of the burden on the taxpayers for footing the total bill. So I'll be offering that amendment, and I'm, Madam Chair, I'm going to make an assumption, and I know that's bad to make an assumption, that Councilwoman Dotley will get this ordinance on the floor, and then I will move to amend it.
Does that work for you, Chairwoman Dotley?
Does that sound like a process?
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
And let me ask this question, Phil, do you need to read, I'm not going to read this into the minutes. Are you going to read it, or do we need the
Yes, I
clerk to
think
read
I
it?
should read it into the minutes here this evening
Okay.
based upon the amendment.
Fair enough.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Council, we had good discussion of this potential amendment today at strategic planning. Do we have any other conversation about this amendment right now? If you have anything to add, please hit your light. Okay, so a reminder, council, we have the fiscal year operations budget ordinance under first read. Then we also have the capital improvements budget for first read. That will be a roll call vote and will pass with a simple majority. Planning items under first reading, and then we move into resolutions. Council, do we have any questions about any resolutions? I have a question about item A, but I want to give anybody else that has any questions an opportunity to get to the board. Okay. Council office item A, the resolution waiving community center rental fees. Councilman Clark, when we discussed this in strategic planning a couple of weeks ago, I asked some questions about the value of this over the long term. I believe Councilman Davis and I both asked about if there were fees to play with this team. Can you please update us on the progress that you've made, understanding the precedent that we would be setting to waive these fees now? And also I want to understand if we are expecting any type of deposit. Most often when fees are waived for a park, there is a deposit that has to be paid. And I'm very concerned about this item because of my concerns about precedent with other such teams until we revise the entire ordinance. If you'll take your light.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. There we go. We discussed this in strategic planning, and I'll reiterate that the precedents that we're setting in allowing this fee waiver is to make sure our community centers are more accommodating to youth development group, neighborhood association organizations who want to use our centers. Right now, we currently charge $200 at a minimum, which means if you wanted to use the community centers for 30 minutes, you're charged $200 rather than, what we would charge at any other facilities, which this being the highest. This resolution, until we're able to send this to the legislative committee to amend the ordinance to allow our fees to be a little bit more accommodating for youth development groups, such as this basketball team, to use our facilities. This is a temporary fix, not a precedence, to make sure that our young people are using the centers when they're open. Currently, this is from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., which is when the centers are normally open to use the court. Chattanooga Bandits Elite, they were previously using the court at no charge until this council put in place the fee chart last year. It was enforced, and this was just a fee that they could not afford. So this is just a temporary fix until we can have the appropriated time to discuss this in the legislative committee. I believe just for philosophy of using our community centers, they should be accessible and affordable, especially those in my district that are low income.
So question, where do you see the line being drawn, knowing that this is a pay-to-play team? Are we now open to opening our community centers for free use to a CrossFit gym that charges a monthly fee for attendance, or opening up our fields for an elite soccer team or a baseball travel team? Help me understand where you see this line being drawn, because to me, they're very similar.
Yeah, I think, we waive fees in the city of Chattanooga all the time.
For
And,
free events open to the
for
public.
free events open to the public, but this is youth development.
But this is not free to the public.
This is not free to the public. The AAU basketball teams raise money, including myself, who's a contributor, so these children can participate in this gym. The fees that they collect are not necessarily fees to participate to be on the team, but to go towards their usage of their equipment. And oftentimes donors will, including myself, will come forward and say, hey, we want to support this. This resolution, again, is a one-time resolution that will allow us time to fix the ordinance, where currently we're charging $200 for groups such as this, youth development, to use our community centers. So
Can any child participate in this? Can they just walk on and participate in the Chattanooga Bandits Elite basketball if they
sure,
show up?
absolutely. I'm
Is
assuming
that
with-
true? They can just show up to practice and
Absolutely.
be
I
on the
think
team?
if you practice, if you audition just like any other team,
So you'd have to audition.
you have to.
You have to try out. You can't just walk on and play. This is not a wide open team.
No, I don't think any of our teams are wide open. I mean, you can't do that with our national soccer teams or
Right,
the NBA.
and they pay fees.
They pay fees.
Right.
But the monies that are collected for these children to participate are for their equipment. So the fees aren't necessarily, and I'm not sure if every child pays a fee, I'm not sure. But as it relates to this particular resolution, community centers are funded by tax dollars. We in Chattanooga believe that we want our children off of the streets into community centers. This is a resolution, again, to waive for this particular organization for this time, so our children are in community centers and not at Nightfall or anywhere else, and this organization is doing that. And the purpose of this resolution to waive this particular fee, again, is for us to have more time to go back and look at the fee structure. They had not been previously asked to pay $200. I think it's too high. I think it's out of reach just not for AAU teams, but for organizations that want to meet for their class reunions or whatever. But this resolution, again, is a waiver, which waiver means we're making a temporary exception to the rule until we can fix it. This
So-
is not a precedence, this is just a waiver, asking us to do it one time to allow this team to practice until we fix the
So
ordinance.
this
to lower the fee.
resolution also says that it will include all future dates and times to be approved by the administrator. So the way that I read this, this is wide open for a fee for service, fee to play, and it's an elite team, as in its name, to play, to use the facilities without charge for as long as they want to use them until we decide to change an ordinance.
No, Madam Chair,
And this-
if you
and
read the
then-
ordinance, it's from May the 14th. The resolution says May the 14th until July 2nd, which is the AAU basketball practice season.
Well, finishing the resolution, it says to include all future dates and times to be approved by the administrator, which says to me it is to include all future dates and times.
I'm assuming that, and you can refer this to the city attorney, but I'm assuming that all future dates and times are the ones that listed in parentheses. Is that correct, Phil?
Well, I think it's broader than that.
I would agree.
It's broader to allow future dates if the administrator approves them.
Well, how it was submitted, it should have been for the dates listed in parentheses, which are May the 14th through July 2nd. Now, if you put that language in there, which I did not, then it needs to be revised to only include those dates like we've done for previous waivers.
We can just add a
Thank you.
period at 1600.
We've got some folks in the queue. Councilman Elliott.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Councilman Clark, I really appreciate you bringing this before us. You know, I think it is unfortunate that this team has been caught in this scenario when we have numerous teams throughout the city who are using our city facilities for recreational use. They could easily be finding themselves on the streets or doing something else, especially in summertime. I think we do need to reevaluate our fees, and I do appreciate those of our colleagues that may have been here prior to look at that fee schedule, and I appreciate the work you've done, but I do think there's some room for improvement. The city is not in the money-making business. Yes, we have to protect our assets, and there may be some type of fee structure that goes to it. But whenever we can lower the barriers for young people to use our facilities, especially facilities that go constantly underutilized and underused, I think we have to do so. I know this is maybe uncommon, that we don't see as often, but we waive fees quite often for other events throughout the city on a much larger scale for organizations that can far and beyond pay for themselves. And so for young children looking to play basketball, I think it would behoove us not to support that, especially considering our role as public servants and understanding these are publicly owned facilities. The barrier to entry should be as little as possible. So thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Councilman Henderson.
So I don't disagree with those comments. And I think I would maybe draw the distinction between, practice and maybe hosting a tournament where somebody's profiting off of it. If they're trying to host a tournament where somebody's trying to profit off of it, then definitely we need to charge a fee in order to use those facilities. I think, Councilman, as far as, and I would support this with an amendment that would exclude or take out that kind of that last sentence to include future dates. That way, I think that more aligns with the purpose that you're trying to present, and it's unfortunate that that got in there, but I think we just amend it on the floor, take that out, and be something I can support.
Thank you. Councilman Clark.
Thank you. Councilman Henderson, that is correct. I did not include that language in there, but I'm sure we can get that resolved. I do want to also echo that, this is not during this time of practice, it is also during the time when our facilities are already open, and it's not limited to any group, including myself. If I wanted to go play basketball with just us four, we could walk in and play basketball in that center at this time. I'm not sure what would prohibit this group from doing that, because during this particular practice time, nothing is happening in this gym. This is also during a time where, again, the difference between a tournament where they do pay for people for entry and where there are different awards. This is just for practice time, as it's mentioned in the waiver. Again, even though they're called elites, it is far from that, Councilwoman Hill. This is a group of young African-American boys who are being coached and mentored by some of our city workers. I had not come in contact with this group. I just got an email and a call about it. When I called Councilwoman Noel, we went on the site, and lo and behold, you just have groups of kids who want to be in our recreation centers who cannot afford $200. That is far from elite. Now, what they may be elite in their performance in basketball, but this organization is far from being elitist, especially in the, this is for the East Chattanooga Recreation Community Center, not an elite community. Again, the purpose of this resolution is to allow these children, because if you look at the dates, they do include June. Today is June 3rd. This was a temporary placeholder until we were able to refer this back to the legislative committee to allow us to figure out why we approved $200 in some of our most inner city communities for organizations like Chattanooga Basketball Elites who cannot afford this fee because they look to members like me to say, hey, I need you to help me pay for materials. So this is not a profit organization. These are children who are asking to use our gyms during the time which they're open when they're not being utilized. And I'm just asking for the fee to be resolved until we can have a really good substantive conversation while we're charging $200 in some of our most low to moderate income neighborhoods when everybody's complaining about we cannot afford this. And by the way, this is the highest fee chart, what we charge for fees in our city, even compared to our golf courses. And I think I sent you all that email. If not, I can send you a budget analysis on that. But to Councilman Elliott and Councilman Henderson, thank you so much for understanding and for your support of this. And I hope council and other members, including yourself, Chairwoman Hill, will join me in support of this resolution.
Councilwoman, Vice Chairwoman Knoll.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, Councilman Henderson hit the nail on the head with me, and it is in my district. It is District 8 Center. And from what I'm understanding, the last sentence is what is disturbing everyone's spirit. And so in order to keep people's spirits from being disturbed, let's just remove that last line from there. I'm in agreement with Councilman Henderson on that, and you have my full support on it.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, council, thank you for that conversation. Councilman Clark, are you moving on to another item?
No, I would like to make, this is the appropriate time to make a motion to amend.
No, it is not.
Oh, we're in
Yeah.
discussion, sorry.
Yeah.
Still learning our format.
Okay, we
I
have
figured we discussed
a
first.
couple of items under resolution, 3 items under resolutions for economic development. Council, my intent is to take those as a package. We also have 2 resolutions under finance related to the capital plan and the intent to issue bonds. These will be roll call votes with a simple majority to pass. And that is a single reading because it is a resolution. Under Parks and Public Works wastewater, we have 2 wastewater resolutions. I don't see any questions on those. Let's jump over to our purchase request for the evening. We have about 7 purchase requests. Council, I know you've had time to take a look at these in advance of this conversation. Do you have any questions you need addressed during this conversation? Councilman Elliott?
Yes, I had one question. I know this is silly. The purchasing has a $500,000 purchase for Canon. I may be ignorant as to what Canon is, and the link did not work for me to click it. Can somebody describe what Canon is?
This actually is a contract for Canon copiers. They're digital machines that do scanning, copying.
Thank you. I thought it was Canon cameras.
No.
I thought you were about to buy a whole bunch of cameras.
Not buying cameras. No, thank you.
That's it, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. let's get together after this because my link works, so let's make sure you're looking at the correct version.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, council? Okay. All right, so let's take a look then at next week's agenda. One thing that is toward the top of the agenda is we have a legislative committee. Councilwoman Knoll, will you please hit your light? All right, Vice Chairwoman Knoll. Related to legislative committee, I believe you had some input.
Yes, we will, I think it has on here the 10th, we will actually have our first legislative committee on the 17th,
Okay.
okay?
Okay. All right, council, looking at ordinances on first reading for next week, those are planning items. For the most part, we do have a planning and zoning meeting. Councilman Henderson, I apologize, didn't see your light there.
Could we back up the truck just a minute?
Sure.
The legislative committee that we're talking about on the 17th, is that when we were going to hear the urban chickens?
Yes, sir.
I will not be present on the 17th. Could we do it on the 10th or? I never did. I saw the email that you sent, but I never.
So the 10th won't work for me, but we can do it on the 24th. Are you good with that?
Are we going to meet July the 1st?
Yes.
Can you schedule it?
For July 1st? Okay.
I'd like to go ahead and do single stair on the 17th, though. So 7-1 will pick up urban chickens, and 6-17 will pick up single stair. Okay. Great. Okay, we will be having a planning and zoning meeting today. Councilwoman Burrs is not able to be here, so I'll be chairing that. Do we have any questions on resolutions? I have one question. The early learning Head Start item A, it's a resolution authorizing a non-contracted vendor to provide $90,000 worth of services. Can we please get some information about why we'd be working with a non-contracted vendor for that?
Madam Chair, we spoke about this morning. I have not gotten an answer yet. So I'm going to, yep, in addition to us presenting on it next week, we'll follow up. As soon as I get that answer, you guys will all have that answer.
Okay, thank you. Okay, council, do we have any other questions? Councilman Elliott?
Yes, this is for resolutions, Madam Chair. Yes, I have a couple. This is regarding ARP, some of these ARP allocations. Can somebody give me an understanding how were these particular agencies selected this go around for these allocations?
Thank you, Councilman Elliott. So the question is, what was?
The
repeat the question.
criteria for selecting these particular agencies, and I know they may be different, but broadly speaking.
Yeah, sure. So just to kind of level set with everybody in terms of how it came about that we had these requests come in. So as you'll recall, the Kelly administration early on switched from what was previously just an annual direct appropriation to various external organizations to an RFP process. And then following the pandemic, the ARPA dollars from the federal government were one-time monies that municipalities were given to disperse into the community, which kind of created a net new pool of organizations who were interested in getting some of those fundings. And so we have continued annually to get some of those requests, many of those requests coming in for repeat funding. So depending on which one specifically you're talking about, a lot of them are connected to initiatives that were started during the ARPA projects that were previously funded. Some of them are incremental, same organizations, different requests, but still made sense within the broader context of strategic areas of focus for the administration. And so I'm happy to do a deep dive on any particular one that you would be interested in.
Yeah, I think offline, I'll do that.
Okay.
So we don't take up time. One more question. How much ARPA dollars are remaining?
Ooh, I don't know the answer to that off of the top of my head. Do we have anyone here who does? We can, Chelsea Sadler, who runs our grants program, she manages that and keeps very good accounting. I'm going to get her to follow up with each of you with kind of where things are currently. I just don't have that figure off the top of my head.
Okay. Last piece, and I'm done, Madam Chair. You know, Kevin, you and I have talked about this, and I've been very open about this as well. You know, coming into council is interesting, especially as a new person. You get inaugurated, you get thrown right into the budget. For me, my priority was making sure that my district was represented in this budget as much as possible. But as we go about looking at future allocations, especially as we get past these 4-year RFPs, I'm really looking to open the hood and take a strong look at these organizations that have been getting funded for years, because I see the same organizations getting the same money time and time again, and it begs the question, how effective are they being, and how well are they serving the people of Chattanooga, particularly those who need it the most? And so I say this for you all, and I say this for all of the agencies who do get city funding. I look forward in the near future of learning about the work that we've been able to support, and I hope it has been effective, and that we are able to continue to partner. But if not, I look forward to seeing how we can use those dollars to best serve other parts of our community.
Absolutely. The administration shares that desire.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
That's it, Madam.
Thank you. Councilman Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kevin, these are additional questions to the American Rescue Plan funds.
Yes, sir.
I know you and I have talked offline about this, and I've requested an email, but since Ronald, Councilman Elliott, has opened up the line of questioning, I've got and this probably be something you have to get back to us, and it may be already in the email, but for the record, how much interest was accrued on what allocated amount? Is that, that's not, and at least I have not received it. I know we've been having one-on-one meetings about budget hearings. So that's my first question. Again, you probably have already answered these questions in email. And then secondly, as I'm looking at some of these current organizations where they are recipients in the agreement, are some of these organizations currently organizations that are receiving funds and are in this current budget request as either a capital project? So are these additional allocations to them in addition to what you're asking us in this FY budget?
Yep, so to answer the first question first, you do have in your inbox a specific number for accrued interest, but I think that it was around $211,000. And just to quickly explain that, so there was a final rule that the federal government issued, the Treasury Department, regarding how municipalities what they can do with unallocated ARPA dollars. And this was, I think, 2 years ago, maybe. At which point the city took all unallocated dollars and we were able to deposit them into an interest-bearing account and basically designate them as lost revenue. We can get into that separately. But all of the money that was assigned maybe to a particular project that for whatever reason had not yet been allocated was put into a single interest-bearing account from which we can draw unrestricted based on approval of council to fund various projects and initiatives. And so the reason that the language is written the way that it is, that says unallocated and accrued interest, is because all of that money is in a single account and it's pulled out. But at the same time, the accounting is accurate where we do distinguish on our side, which is what you have in your email, that shows what the accrued interest is and then what the principal amounts were when they were initially deposited. But then when we pull it out, it's unallocated and accrued interest.
Madam Chair, I have two more questions.
Can I answer this?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The second question was regarding whether agencies have multiple sources of funding in this budget proposal. The answer is yes, some of them do, not all of them, but in the follow-up document that we provided to you guys after the first education session, Finance had put together a workbook that showed a 15-year breakdown of all of the agencies included in this budget proposal, their respective historical allocations, and then those respective allocations, sources of funding. And so there are multiple tabs in that workbook that you can view, and I'm happy to answer any questions after you have a chance to do that.
Sure. And so just to be clear, how are you all defining unallocated? Are those funds that was allocated to organizations during this process? Because the federal government this council approved on what was allocated.
Yep.
Unallocated means it was unused and then sent back into this interest-bearing account. Is that correct?
More or less. So the council appropriates funding. You give us permission to spend money on a particular thing through a particular organization. And sometimes those monies do not end up being spent in that manner, so they're unallocated. And so when they are unallocated, we put them all in a single account. And now we are asking your approval to a new slate of proposals to reallocate those unallocated dollars.
And my last question, are you aware of the deadline that the Department of Treasury gives us to send this money back by law if we do not reappropriate these to the organizations that the mayor's office is recommending? And what is that date for public record?
Yep, so according to the Treasury's final rule, the city was allowed to hold that money, designate it as revenue loss, and then the federal government sees it as obligated and spent. So we will not have to send that money back.
Great.
That concludes my questions, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chief.
Okay. Okay, council, we have a Parks and Outdoors resolution. We've already discussed purchases. So let's take a look at future considerations, please. Handful of items in future considerations. So we're on call blanket contracts. Do you have any questions related to future considerations? If so, please hit your light. Okay, council, seeing none, I think we can go ahead and move into our Planning and Zoning Committee. Karen, let's get rolling. So, council, within your packet, you have the notes for the Planning and Zoning Committee as well as an agenda. As per usual, Karen will be discussing the items that had opposition at the Planning Commission meeting. So we've got item C and item D, cases 0086 and 0075. Are there any other cases that you would like Karen to present on while we have her with us in this meeting? If so, please hit your light. All right, Karen, I think we're good to go.
Okay. There are 5 cases on the agenda for next week. There is one case on the agenda today for the zoning map correction, and my apologies to Councilman Harvey for not giving him a heads up on that with timing. So that is in his district, and there is a reasoning stated in that ordinance. If there's questions, I'm happy to answer that. But we do have 2 cases that had opposition at Planning Commission. And so I'll go into detail on both of these. This is a lifting conditions case, so this is not a rezoning. This was a request to lift conditions from property located at 1107 Northmore Road. The property is owned by Tucker Baptist Church. And so this is a lifting of conditions from a prior zoning case. And the proposed use there provides a little, that was the original reason for the rezoning. There's been a little bit of a change, so I'll go through that as we go through the case. So just a reminder that this church property abuts, it's across the street from Brainerd High School. Bella Vista Drive is running to the south. Vinoy Drive is running along the western side. So we did have input on this case from nearby residents. And their concerns were regarding flooding and height on the property. So this was originally rezoned in 2022 to R3, which was the old kind of multifamily apartment zone, allows senior housing, attached housing. There were 6 conditions placed on it at the time. 2 of them related, or really 3 of them were related to buffering and landscaping, no access to Bella Vista Drive. And then the applicant was originally requesting lifting the 2 conditions shown in red regarding building height and number of units. Staff reviewed it, and regarding the building heights, was recommending or noted that lifting the condition could introduce a 5 or 6-story building into primarily low-intensity residential area where building heights did not exceed 2 stories. And regarding the maximum on the number of units, staff noted this is that increasing, or the ability to increase density is reasonable. The proposed density based on the applicant's proposal is 26 dwelling units an acre. The by right density is 46 dwelling units an acre. So staff recommended lifting the unit density condition, but not lifting the height condition. There was opposition at Planning Commission, as noted. At Planning Commission, Pastor Hathaway, representing the church, said that they are fine with that not lifting the height condition, maintaining that condition is okay with them. They do appreciate being able to move forward with lifting the density or unit count on that. I spoke to Pastor Hathaway this morning to ensure that that was still, Planning Commission's a month ago, that was still acceptable to the church, and that is still the path they would like to go, that they're not asking to lift the condition. And so Pastor Hathaway has a developer, and they'll both be here next week to answer any questions, but just confirming that the ordinance as written is in line with the church's preference. There's been some change to the development team. So this is keeping the conditions placed by council previously, but lifting that unit cap on the number of units at this location.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Do we have any questions? I have, here we go, Councilwoman Dotley.
Yes, so, hey Karen.
Hi.
So this is Tucker?
This is
right?
Tucker.
Okay, so I know previously it was a very contentious.
It was.
Project before, and they had a terrible developer in Penrose. And then it seems like they just doubled down with Michael Kenner. But it seems in here he's no longer associated with this project.
That's right. We have not
altogether?
removed him as the applicant, speaking to Pastor Hathaway this morning, because it's already been advertised. But Pastor Hathaway said that he's representing the project, and he did represent the project at Planning Commission.
Well, who's the developer?
He mentioned the name, and I was not familiar with the name, but he gave that to me, but I can follow up with him and send that to you.
Okay, that'd be great, because when we find a bad developer is just a bad developer. And so we want to make sure that, because I didn't support it last time simply because the developer was terrible. Penrose was terrible, just in case somebody want to quote that. And I know some of the issues that Mr. Kenner is having out in Councilman Clark's district, but I just want to know who is the developer, because that is it's across the street from my alma mater, and a lot of people I know live in the area as well. I want to make sure that, those same people that were here previously in opposition to it, that I still stand firm with what they, what they wanted.
I will send the developer name, and I did confirm with Pastor Hathaway in our communication this morning that I would be sending out staff notes and just be noting that there's been a change.
Okay.
And he said that was good with him to convey that.
Okay, thank you. So if you just give me the developer name,
I will.
that'd be fantastic. Thank you, Karen. And thank you, Councilman Clark, for letting me indulge in your district.
Well,
Councilman Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and no worries, Councilwoman Dotley, we are family here, right?
Amen.
So, Ms. Rainick, thank you so much for your guidance on this. As a new council person, it's often difficult to navigate these types of things without any guidance. And your office has been very helpful on what Ms. Dotley mentioned as something very contentious. I do want to make clear that I have been in contact with Pastor Gary Hathaway as of this morning. I cannot remember what who the developer names was, but it was a principal. Mike in Development was the applicant for the developer representing a principal group, and I cannot remember what the name is, and so I will send that to Councilwoman Dotley to take that off of your list.
Okay.
And my question is that, and let me just say for the record, this predated me, of course, and I probably would not have supported, I won't support any buildings probably higher than the steeples of the churches in that community or higher than Brainerd. But one of the things that brought some questioning is the maximum residential. I am supporting the maximum of 63 residence units being added. Can you explain, for the record, what they're taking, the new zoning laws they're taking advantage of, and how they plan to, from your recollection and understanding and conversations with the applicant, on how they're able to squeeze in some additional units, I think from 63 to 70?
9, I believe, is the new.
Could you explain a little bit more about what you know and how they're going to do that while we're not approving the height past 3 stories?
Right. And so I do not know specifically the reasoning. The site plan is the same as what was submitted. We noticed the same as the 2022 case. So the density is increased in the zone. Our new zoning allows more units. So we discussed the possibility. It talks about number of 76 one-bedroom units, 4 two-bedroom units, whether they're changing up that mix, reducing the size of the units. It's not held to this site plan. This is just kind of acknowledging possible development on the site. But I believe our memory is the same as Councilman Dotley, as it was spent a lot of time with the community working on this condition. So we took a very conservative approach, knowing that work had been done, and felt that if the height didn't increase, whatever happens within those building walls seems reasonable at
So
this
stick within
location.
those walls.
So the site plan, what is developed, does not have to follow the site plan, but it is giving a general feeling of how development could happen on the
Gotcha.
site.
Thank you, Ms. Rennick.
Okay, looks like we've got everybody's questions answered. Karen, I had one question / point to bring up. So I know that Greater Tucker is working tirelessly to try to create a mixed income senior housing development. And the numbers are very difficult to make work on a project like this. So my experience has been that increasing the number of units is part of what allows the fiscal package to work. Have you heard anything about that as to why they would need more units? Is that the direction?
I have not. My understanding is they've been working with housing folks, and so I don't know if that's coming from communication there, but that it is, they have been working and getting guidance from our housing partners.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next case.
So the next case that had opposition, we had one person in opposition for a project off 7404 Tyner Road. It's a request to rezone to CC Commercial Corridor Zone, which is kind of the old C2, which is the kind of a suburban commercial zone. The section of Tyner Road is between Lee Highway and Walker Road, where it crosses 75. And the plan for the area talks about this being a heavy business mix, and it's really due to the proximity due to the Lee Highway corridor in 75. So this is an area that's changing from residential to commercial. There's been rezoning to commercial in the area in 2008 and 2024, and those properties shown there are all related. The commercial properties are owned by an LLC, which is associated with the Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. They own the existing surgery center, and they're proposing to expand into a 2-story office building for the Center for Sports Medicine with associated parking and driveways. So the property shown in red there, which is a zoning case, would be part of a larger overall development associated with that. So those commercial zonings, although that is that wide open commercial zone, they do have conditions on that. Most of them have a condition related to medical or medical office type use. So this existing surgery center, the property, the existing surgery center is south, which is kind of where 75 would be. Lot 1, shown in the top right, is the zoning case, so it is parking for the, proposed parking for the new two-story use. Staff found that the request is compatible with the plan, adjacent land uses, and its extension of an existing zone and use. But there is single-family residential in the area, and actually there are some new residential homes just across Tyner Road from this. So staff recommended maintaining the conditions of office, medical office, and associated parking uses only. This is to ensure that full spectrum of commercial uses are not happening at this location. They haven't been introduced on this section of Tyner Road. There was opposition present. The gentleman that is adjacent to the property on Tyner Road was in opposition and had concerns about stormwater drainage in Sonia Lane, the use of Sonia Lane. Some of that would be addressed through permitting and was a little bit beyond the purview of Planning Commission's hearing. Planning Commission found the request is compatible at this location and is recommending approval subject to the condition of office, medical office, and associated parking uses only. So again, maintaining a change in this area between Lehigh Highway and 75, but not having this transition to a full commercial corridor.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
And the other cases do not have opposition at Planning Commission.
Do we have any questions? Councilman Harvey.
Yeah, thank you. Just to clarify real quick on the planning item C under today's agenda, this is simply just a correction to the originally proposed equivalency zone. Is that right?
That's correct. That property was rezoned to allow their use somewhere before 1966. I didn't track that down more, so they had been using that zone that had been in place since 1966, and the equivalent, that was an old zone that wasn't used much, and then we, in the equivalency process, lost that they would have, or missed that they would have lost those uses. So they were already well into the process. They've been platted, had a land disturbance permit, so this is just allowing them to continue the development that's already underway.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
You're
That's all.
welcome.
Thank you. Council, it occurs to me that I did not get a motion on the minutes for our previous Planning and Zoning Committee. May I please get a motion to approve the minutes? All right, minutes will stand as without objection. Okay, great. Okay, that brings to a close the Planning and Zoning Committee for today. We do have a need for an attorney-client meeting immediately after this. So council, if you'll join us in the conference room, we will recess until 5:15. Thank you. All right, City Council is back in session. Madam Clerk, will you please read item 7A under planning?
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 1500 East 14th Street from RN 15 Residential Neighborhood Zone to TRN 3 Traditional Residential Neighborhood Zone, subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Elliott.
Move to approve.
Council, we have a motion on the floor to approve with the proper second. Do we have any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. All right, under first reading, council, we have our budget items. Madam Clerk, item 8A, please.
An ordinance hereinafter also known as the fiscal year 2025 through 2026 operations budget, providing revenue for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025 and ending June 30, 2026, appropriating same to the payment of expenses of the municipal government, fixing the rate of taxation on all taxable property in the city, and the time taxes and privileges are due, how they shall be paid when they shall become delinquent, providing for interest and penalty on delinquent taxes and privileges, amending Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 2, Section 267, relative to paid leave for active duty training, and to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 31, Sections 3136, 3137, 3141, and 3143, Sections 31322, and 31354.
Councilwoman Dotley.
This is our 25-26 budget. I want to thank the council for all your hard work on this, and with that, I move to approve.
Thank you. Councilman Henderson.
So I will second that, and also, I would like to make a motion, as we discussed at 2, and then again at 3:30. I'd like to make a motion to amend this budget, and I would like for the city attorney, thank you, to read that amendment into the record, please.
Yes, sir. There'd be an amendment to Section 5A, General Government and Supporting Agencies, and that amendment would be to make a change to the contingency fund appropriation and the renewal and replacement that is proposed for FY26, and to change that to contingency fund appropriation for $950,156 and renewal and replacement for $1 million from the version that is in your current ordinance. It would also state that the City of Chattanooga Department of Finance will set aside this $5 million earnest money deposit resulting from the contingency fund appropriation and renewal and replacement reductions into a new budget line called Earnest Money for Sworn Fire and Police Compensation until the City Council passes a separate ordinance amending the fiscal year 25-26 operations budget to address compensation for police and fire, at which time these monies shall be incorporated into the financing structure for sworn police and fire pay raises, and this new budget line item dissolved.
And that is in the amount of $5 million.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's in a form of a motion.
Okay, council, we have a motion to amend on the floor with a proper second. This would be a good time to have any questions or comments from the council about this amendment and the budget as a whole. Councilman Elliott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilman Henderson, I had to think about it for a second. Thank you for leading the charge on this. I appreciate the work of the administration and your work to make sure we're finding savings. I've made this abundantly clear to my constituents over the past year. While it is incredibly important that we find opportunities to pay our first responders, we should not push all this burden back onto the taxpayers alone. So thank you for leading the charge to help us find savings within our own budgets, and thank you to the administration for willing to work with us to make sure we're getting one step closer to being not only responsible stewards of our first responders as they look after us, but also responsible stewards for the taxpayer dollars. So thank you, Chairman. Councilman.
Councilman Clark?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This question is for Councilman Henderson. And I echo the sentiments of Councilman Elliott and my other colleagues who have a concern of how we're supporting sworn police and fire in their races to be competitive. I think we should be budgeting for priorities. And I believe it is the role of the council when we're considering the mayor's budget to be that oversight and making sure that those priorities are met. I do believe it is a safety concern for us not to be paying fire and police at a competitive rate, because that means we're not recruiting and retaining the best and the brightest, which is a safety concern. So my question to you, Councilman Henderson, is that we know that the gap was roughly about 17 to 20 million. Is that correct? What we needed to do, perhaps not reflected in this budget, but what needs to be done to close that gap and what we're not paying the fire and police. Is that correct? And I have a follow-up question to that.
So, Councilman, what this does is crack the door. It gets us one step closer to funding what fire and police pension or pay ought to be. I think the first thing that we're going to have to do is see what that number actually is. I think right now we're not completely certain what that number is. So what this does is gives us some time, but it also is a first step and a commitment to this is the road that we're going down. And it, as Councilman Elliott stated, it won't put it all on the back of the taxpayers. And that's what I'm concerned about as well, is we make sure that we look out for the taxpayers of Chattanooga so that we don't burden them with something that they can't afford. So, like I said, to me, it's a first step. It gets us there, and then we address the rest of it. And it gives us some time without putting us up against kind of an immediate deadline of August 31st. It just extends the runway a little bit to be able to hammer out the details that we need to get it to where it needs to be.
Thank you. And my last question is a follow-up. And I fully support this at the 5 million. What is stopping us from at least going to our halfway mark to 10 million? We initially, I know there was conversation about if we could only get halfway there. This amendment does not put us halfway there. And I guess my question is, what would stop us from asking for an additional 5 million in this budget amendment to get us halfway there?
So this is.
Hit your light.
This has been an ongoing conversation that I've had with the administration. So in order to set aside the 10 million, the halfway, we have to take it from somewhere. And at least 5 of us need to agree on where we're going to take it from in order to put it where it needs to, or I'll just say into fire and police pay. So what would stop us at this point is 5 of us agreeing on where that additional 5 million needs to come out of in order to get to that 10 million. And that's the reason I'm saying this is just a start. It cracks the door, and then it allows the administration to start having conversations with the 9 of us to decide where we're going to get the rest of those funds from. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Madam Chair.
Anyone else have any questions or comments about the budget? Okay, I have a couple. I, too, have been really pushing on the administration to identify areas of savings so as to limit the impact on our taxpayers. You all have heard me say just how much the valuations have changed in my district, the full length of my district. So Kevin, if you could please come to the podium, I want to get some things on the record. This amendment takes money from a contingency fund and from a newly created renewal and replacement line item, both of which I was pleased to see in the budget because I feel like it's an appropriate step towards sustainable management of our municipality. So can you please speak to us about commitments that you all have as an administration as you look toward finding this $5 million elsewhere in further discussion about how we're going to get back to thinking about renewal and replacement? We talked about the summit strategic planning, but I'd like us to have it on the record in this general business meeting, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Absolutely. So the reason that we are able to pursue this amendment is because the city, under the Kelly administration, year over year, has gotten better and better about efficiently budgeting. And as I mentioned during strategic planning, when we first, the last time there was a reappraisal cycle and that city council approved a certified tax rate that would be an increased portion, you passed a budget that was an operating budget that was $517 approximately $1 million in 2022. This budget, which is $545 million for operations, is underneath the adjusted for inflation amount that would be needed just to be at the buying power of that 217. Let me try that differently. If you were to take purchasing power of that 217 forward to today, you would need 259. And so we are proposing a budget that's $345 million, which is a testament to our ability to continue to get better at budgeting and to put forward budgets that are efficient, that are, they don't have fat on them. And as we have done that year over year, we continue to pick up savings incrementally, department by department. And so this time, we were able to put that into contingency and fund it initially, until this amendment, at a level, I think, 2 or 3 times higher than previous budgets. And we believe the administration shares your desire, Madam Chair, to continue to do that, to have a robust and appropriately funded contingency line. With respect to R&R, R&R has typically been handled at the department level. R&R, for those who are not tracking all this, so R&R is renew and recovery, I think, but basically.
Repair and replace.
Replace, thank you. So that's money used to get new office desks or chairs or other things that just over time wear and tear, right? Used to be handled at the department level. Last year, across all departments, R&R was funded at $900,000. So what we had initially proposed here was to take some of the savings that we had found across departments and appropriately fund contingency and boost a centralized funding for R&R to the tune of $2 million. And so we were able to do that again because of the savings. So as we move forward, we are able to take this money, set it aside, and we will continue to iterate with respect to how we pursue efficiencies and find savings according to those efficiencies. And as part of that, we definitely want to continue funding contingency and R&R. Want to go forward.
Second question, I do see this as a good faith effort that the administration is willing to work toward the goals that some of us on council have expressed of finding funding for fire and police raises within our current general operating fund. Can you please speak to that commitment, acknowledging the fact that we've been talking about splitting things 50-50, as it were, 50% coming out of our general operating and then 50% potentially looking for additional support from taxpayers?
Sure. The entire enterprise of government is funded by taxpayers.
Of course.
And the Kelly administration already looks with scrutiny at every dollar that we fund towards providing essential services that we have to provide, for paying for things that we have no choice but to pay for. And then there's a little tiny bit left over for some discretionary opportunities that we, over the last 4 years, have brought before this body, and this body has agreed are areas of focus and worthy endeavors that ought to be funded. We are absolutely committed to rolling our sleeves up and trying to find where we can make up the additional $5 million to accomplish this 50-50 split that we all want to accomplish. The reason that we are not doing it all right now is because we have to pass a budget by June 30 to be in compliance with state statute. And the administration believes that it gives us a better footing to enter into some conversations where we're going to have to start considering opportunity cost. Because we're getting to the point where outside of contingency and R&R and some of this low-hanging fruit, the next iteration involves making potentially operational changes, potentially looking at personnel, not existing personnel, but looking at some currently vacant positions that maybe we collectively decide that we're not going to have, right? Right now, we think that we are going to have them, we just haven't hired them. In a future iteration, we're going to get into some conversations where everyone's going to have different opinions about it, and I think it's just going to take some time to ferret that out. And so we look forward to doing that. We are open to doing that. We've tossed around some ideas about different configurations of departments up until this point, and I think that once we get this budget enacted, we will be positioned best to continue those conversations in earnest and figure out how we're going to get there.
Okay, thank you. And I do appreciate the work that our finance team, all of our departments have done to really tighten the screws and look carefully. And thank you, Kevin, and the mayor's staff for your willingness just to look at it again and again with us.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, council, let's go, let me get back to my tab here. So again, we do have a motion on the floor to amend with a proper second. All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
You have one more thing, I apologize.
Do we need to do a roll call? Yes.
Oh, you're right, we
We
do.
do.
I apologize. Back it up, rewind, just rewind the YouTube. Okay, we do need to do a roll call vote, thank you. All right, we'll start with Councilman Henderson. This is voting in favor of the amendment. Councilman Henderson.
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
Councilman Harvey.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Elliott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Dotley.
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Knoll.
Yes.
And as chair, I also will vote yes on the amendment. That is 8 yeses. We have 1 member absent. Okay, council, we have squared that one away. Can I get a motion to approve as amended?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to approve as amended with a proper second. Any other conversation? Are you good, Councilman? Okay. All right, folks, this is going to be a vote on item A. This is the budget motion to approve as amended.
A roll call.
With a roll call vote. Yep. We'll start on the other end. Councilman Elliott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Dotley.
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Knoll.
Yes.
Councilman Henderson.
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
Councilman Harvey.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
I will vote yes as well. All right, that's 8 in favor. The motion to approve as amended passes. We are moving forward with the budget, folks. Okay. Item B, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance appropriating, authorizing, and allocating funds to the capital improvements budget for the fiscal year 2025 through 2026.
Councilwoman Dotley,
Move to approve.
would anyone like to second that?
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. This is for our capital improvements budget. Do I have any questions or comments? All right, Councilman Henderson.
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
Councilman Harvey.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Elliott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Dotley.
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Knoll.
Yes.
And Grand Chair just gave me a tip that the clerk can do this, so I don't have to call my own name. And Jenny Hill, I will also vote yes. We'll let the clerk do the resolutions. How about that? Okay. Thank you, Grand Chair. That's what we call Chip. It's like grandfather or great uncle, you know. He's just been chair so many times. He's a wonderful mentor. All right, item C, please.
An ordinance to approve a correction to the official zoning map as referenced below.
Councilman Harvey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is in my district. I just want to clarify for the record, I've spoken to the developer, and this is a correction to the originally proposed equivalency zone. I just wanted to state that for the record.
Okay, would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Okay, council, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. If you have any questions or comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, council office, item A.
A resolution waiving community center rental fees for the use of the East Chattanooga Community Center gym for 8 Wednesdays, dates May 14th, May 21st, May 28th, June 4th, June 11th, June 18th, June 25th, July 2nd, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. to Chattanooga Bandits Elite for AAU basketball practice at a value of $1,600 to include all future dates and times to be approved by the administrator.
Councilman Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion to amend this.
Okay, first I need a motion to get this on the floor.
Okay. Make a motion to approve.
Okay. Okay, council, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. If you'd like to make your motion to amend now, sir, you may.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion to amend, basically putting a period after 1600 to strike out to include all future dates and times to be approved by the administrator.
Okay. Council, we have a motion on the floor to amend with a proper second. Do we have any questions or comments? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to amend passes. Can I get a motion to approve as amended?
I'd like to make a motion to approve as amended.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, council, we have a motion on the floor to approve as amended with a proper second. Do we have any questions or comments? I will go ahead and say that I am concerned about precedent. I don't think that this is fully thought through, though I appreciate the sentiment of the resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
And I am opposed, ma'am. Okay. All right, economic development, we have 3 items. Let's go ahead and take items B, C, and D as a package, please, Madam Clerk.
Item B, a resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Economic Development to enter into a premises use agreement with Rivermont Youth Athletic Association, Inc., and substantially the form attached for the use of athletic fields and buildings located on a portion of tax parcel number 118KA009 at 3325 Dixie Drive for a term of 4 years with an annual rent of $1. Item C, a resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Economic Development to enter into a premises use agreement with Lakeside Youth Association, Inc., and substantially the form attached for the use of the athletic fields and buildings located at Swan Road, tax parcel number 129C8018 for a term of 4 years with an annual rent of $1. Item D, a resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Economic Development to enter into a first agreement to exercise option to renew with Chattanooga Flying Disc Club, Inc., and substantially the form attached for disc golf courses at specific city public parks for daily use and tournament play for additional term of 1 year for the term through June 30, 2026, and to enter into a First Amendment to standard premises use agreement and substantially the form attached to update the notification information for the tenant.
Second.
Thank you. Council, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Do we have any questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Finance item E, please, Madam Clerk.
A resolution adopting a 5-year capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2026 through 2030, subject to future revision, a copy of which is attached hereto and made a part hereof by reference.
All right, council, can I get a motion?
Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, would you please do a roll call vote?
Yes.
One less thing for me to worry about.
Councilman Elliott? Yes. Councilwoman Dottley? Yes. Councilman Clark?
Yes.
Councilman Harvey?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Henderson?
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Knoll?
Yes.
Chairwoman Hill?
Yes.
I say yeses.
Thank you very much. Item F, please.
A resolution expressing the intent of the city of Chattanooga to issue bonds or other obligations of indebtedness relating to public works projects of the city with the proceeds or bonds or other obligations to be issued by the city of Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Second.
Okay, council, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Do we have any questions or comments? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilman Henderson? Yes. Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Harvey?
Yes.
Councilman Clark?
Yes.
Councilwoman Dottley?
Yes.
Councilman Elliott? Vice Chairwoman Knoll?
Yes.
Chairwoman Hill?
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you. Okay, wastewater, item G and H. Please, let's take those as a package.
Item G, a resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Wastewater to award contract number W21012-103 professional services for program management of the consent decree implementation to Jacobs Engineering Group, Inc. for year 4 of 5 with one annual renewal for an amount not to exceed $3.3 million. Item H, a resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Wastewater to enter into a 4-year blanket contract with TNT Concrete LLC of Chattanooga, Tennessee for paving and concrete repair or replacement, contract number W24029-201 for the estimated amount of $1.5 million annually.
Thank you. Thank you. Council, we have a motion on the floor to approve with the proper second. Do I have any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, purchases.
Good evening, council. I have 7 purchases recommended for approval this evening. The first one is for purchasing. This is a new blanket agreement for Canon multifunction devices. This will be a 3-year agreement not to exceed $500,000 annually. The award will go to Canon utilizing the state of Tennessee contract. The second one is for the library, a new blanket agreement for marketing automation system. This will be a 5-year agreement not to exceed $131,713.99. The award will go to Spring Share as the sole source. Number 3 is for fleet. It's a 2-year renewal. Lee Smith is requesting a 4% increase due to the cost of materials and labor. The new estimated annual spend will be $208,000. Public Works has approved the increase. Number 4 is for fleet. This is a 1-month extension to coincide with the state of Tennessee contract. No additional money will be added. Number 5 is for wastewater. This is a one-time purchase of trench and shore light boxes in the amount of $66,220. The award will go to Iron Lot as the best bid. Number 6 is for wastewater. This is a one-time purchase of pumps, accessories, maintenance, and repairs. The award will go to Dupron as the sole source in the amount of $100,697.50. And number 7 is for Human Resources. Human Resources is requesting an increase of $72,000 to Agreement 561691 to cover invoices through June 30th. The new estimated annual spend will be $615,000.
Thank you. Council, we have a motion on the floor to approve these purchases with the proper second. Do you have any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, council, we're going to go around with our committee reports, please. Councilman Henderson.
No report.
Councilman Davis.
No report.
Councilman Harvey.
No report.
Councilman Clark.
Madam Chair, I just want to remind we have a committee meeting scheduled for next week for the Committee of Equity and Community Development on June 10th.
Thank you very much. Councilman Elliott. Councilwoman Dotley.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. We had our first read of the budget with an amendment, and that passed today, thank goodness. So looking forward to next week's second read. And again, just want to say thank you to everyone who put in all the hard work to make sure that this got done for our city. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilwoman Dotley, for leading us through the budget and being our budget chair. You've done a great job. Appreciate you. Vice Chairwoman Knoll.
No report.
But we do have 2 legislative committee meetings coming up.
Yes, but not until the 17th and the 1st of July.
6/17 and 7/1. Okay. And we have a report from the city attorney.
Yes. We would like to announce a settlement of a dispute between the city and Reeves Young regarding any claims as to contracts W17-021-0201 and W18-008-201 for the Moccasin Bend wastewater treatment plant improvements and the EQ UNOX improvements project here, subject to a settlement agreement that has been approved by the department. And that settlement agreement will result in a payment at this point in time of the remaining balances under the contract for $2,300,000, but no additional amounts.
Thank you very much. Okay, we've now reached the point in our meeting where we will recognize persons who wish to address the council. If you wish to address the council today, please go ahead and line up behind the podium. Mr. Attorney, please read our rules.
Sure. At the end of each council business meeting, the chair will recognize members of the public who wish to address the council, and here's your rules. Each speaker wishing to address the council can only be recognized at the microphone up front provided for that purpose. Can't have more than 3 minutes to speak, and you can address the council only upon matters within their legislative and quasi-judicial authority and not upon matters which are not under their authority or regulated by other governmental bodies or agencies. Do not engage in vulgar or obscene language, nor use the floor to personally attack or personally denigrate others, and address your comments to the council as a whole and not towards individual council members. And lastly, do not engage in disorderly conduct or disrupting a public meeting, which is prohibited by Tennessee law, and someone commits that offense if a person substantially obstructs or interferes with the meeting by physical action or verbal utterance with the intent to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting or gathering. Having stated those rules, please go ahead, Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney, and good afternoon, council. Monty Bell, the homeless journalist, the gray-haired fox, the man with the $1 trillion, Boy 727 East 11th Street, president and founder of Monty Bell's public exposure company, PubX, the total communication connection with news that all poor people can use. Mr. Attorney, I have an open records request dated for pickup today, June the 3rd, 2025. Do you have a copy of your response like the suspension letter that you gave me on March the 11th? If not, you're in complete non-compliance with the open records request, and that's a violation. But I've got news that you can use. My chief, Celeste Murphy, has been given 17 felony charges. And I've got a young lady that your city attorney and everybody within his range has appointed to my life that has no contact information on earth. And the bell tolls for she.
Good morning, law office.
Yes, ma'am. Great day in the morning, and it's a Friday. It's a beautiful day. How are you, ma'am?
Good. Who's this?
This is Monty Bell. I'm a citizen here. And
Yeah, we got your voicemails, and Mary wanted me to tell you that she has a conflict, and unfortunately, she's not going to be able to help you.
not even to confirm that this Jenny Parker exists.
Nothing.
Well, it's a good year listening to your voice, Miss Sherry. How are you doing?
I'm good, Mr. Bell. How are you?
Well, absolutely fantastic. I don't say it aloud. I took a chance, Miss Shirley, to see if you all were there. I was in hopes that the office has been able to get the copies of my request. Did you receive that letter? Did you get a chance to see it?
It's the one that has the stuff about the outside of the council on it.
Well, it's titled, let me say yes, but I don't know, I know I have it titled Open Records Request.
I think so. I think she gave you the last half because I usually handle payments for outside counsel. I think.
Well, then, did you have the receipt for that? I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you have that information on this Jenny Parker?
I don't have anything for Jenny Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Jenny Parker.
I'm afraid not.
We will be back next week. There's two other
Thank you.
interviews. There
Do we
is
have
no
anyone
Jenny
else that would
Parker
like to
on
address the
Earth.
council?
Thank you. 211 billion, 34 million for your fraud.
Good evening, members of council. My name is Lee Helena. I live at 1011 Oak Street. I just wanted to take a moment to express my sincere appreciation to the Chattanooga Police Department's Community Police Academy. I graduated last month. This program has provided invaluable insight into the day-to-day work of our officers, offering transparency, fostering trust, building stronger connections between our community and those who serve us. It's clear that the Academy is not only educating residents, but also creating an opportunity for meaningful dialogue and collaboration between the police and the public. I truly believe that programs like this are an essential part of strengthening our community and enhancing public safety. I myself feel much safer here, knowing that they have such sophisticated tools to do their job so quickly. Thank you to the Chattanooga Police Department for your commitment to engagement, education, and service. I encourage everyone to participate and learn firsthand about the important work being done to keep our city safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else who would like to address the council? Okay, come on up.
Good evening, council. My name is Miller Brown. I live on Brookfield Avenue in District 6. Just wanted to talk a little bit about Brainerd Road. Right now, there are really just two options to get downtown. If you live on the other side of Missionary Ridge, you can drive or you can take the bus. Driving is becoming more expensive and it's less practical as traffic grows. And unfortunately, the bus is irregular and limited to 2 bicycles at a time. Looking at the RPA website, you'll see Brainerd improvement plans going back to 2008. But we still don't have continuous sidewalk from Germantown Road to the Ridge. Unfortunately, there are even larger gaps further east, especially between Tally Road and Tuxedo, and then again from Moore Road all the way to the airport. As for cycling, there's no real infrastructure at all. If you ride a bike, you'll either be piecing together sidewalks and parking lots or riding in 5 lanes of 45-mile-an-hour traffic. Unfortunately, there's a real human cost to this current infrastructure. There was a pedestrian death last year, and there are documented pedestrian deaths going back decades. So I wanted to just propose an idea and put something out there. Right now, we have a unique opportunity to show the community what it would be like to have real multimodal access on the other side of the ridge and do it with minimal investment. TDOT's working on the tunnels today. We're likely going to have at least one tunnel closed over the course of the summer. My ask is that as the tunnels are finished, but before they're open to cars, the first weekend is allocated to pedestrians and cyclists. So we'll have open tunnels, commuters that are used to funky traffic flows and not expecting to have access to both sides of the ridge or both sides of the tunnel. And it seems like a really great opportunity to invite people from downtown to visit the other side of the ridge and frequent the businesses on in Old Town Brainerd, and then also allow folks on the east side of the ridge an opportunity to see what it's like to be able to move downtown without having to drive or take the bus. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Miller. Kevin, will you get with Miller after this to make sure that he can connect with Public Works? It's an interesting idea.
Absolutely.
Okay, do we have anyone else who'd like to talk with the council tonight? All right, council, I think that we have heard all the public folks that would like to chat with us. What is your pleasure? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all. No.